Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, Can-Am Missing Project. That is our executive producer of the show, Huck. Yeah, Huck's a good girl. He's a good girl. He's a good pup. She's having a good day today. She goes, hey, but you have to get me in for another spring cut, Dad. It's getting a little warm outside. So I got to get her over there, and she's been a little warm lately. Oh yeah, that's a good girl. That's a good girl, yeah. So, thanks for being here. Everything in northwest Montana is going very well right now. We've lost all the snow in the valley. Mountaintops are still having some snow, which is good. That's like money in the bank for the summer, for the rivers. Keep the fish healthy, alive. Yeah. So, I posted some videos lately, one specifically about Chicago. If you guys are a long-term viewer of the show, you know I've covered many cases in Chicago of missing people. And they all revolve around water. People found in water, disappearing next to water. It's the Great Lakes. And you just can't ignore it. The other day, I ran across another case. This one, it's in Illinois, outside of Chicago. Bless you, Huck. Oh, bless you. You're a good girl. I'm sorry you sneezed. She looked at me like, what was that, Dad? Student, super smart. Oh, bless you again. You got something in your nose? Huh? She's looking at me like, hey, come take it out of my nose. I'm not doing that. And we're going to delve into that today. Now, again, in the news lately, a lot of strange things. We're coming up on trailside hiking. We're going to talk about it soon. And if you have any questions about hiking on the trail, send them in to me. Put it on missing411@yahoo.com. I'll get it. If you need to send me an email, that's the email to send it to. And our website, missing411.com. That is books, CDs, DVDs, etc. And do not buy my books on Amazon. Please do not. You're going to get ripped off. You're a friend. I don't want you to get ripped off. My books are way too expensive on there. $150, $200. You can get them from me for $25. And if you're in Canada or anywhere else in the world and you want my books, Google Hancock House Publishing. And they are in Blaine, British Columbia. They have everything. They will ship my books all over the world to you. They're our international partners. Hancock House Publishing. It's an outskirts of Vancouver. They're good people. They'll get the book to you. So let's get on with this story because it is troubling. And I'm going to lay out a timeline for you as we go forward. This young man's name, he was in the PhD program. No, he's smart. This man's name was Jelani Day, missing August 24th, 2021, from Bloomington, Illinois State University in the speech pathology department. Like I said, to get to that level, you've got to perform. You got to be good. His hometown was Danville, Illinois. He had a really tight family, which really what makes people successful. It's an easier way to get to success if you have people behind you. This is one of those very rare cases, very rare, where the police did an absolutely outstanding job. And I'm going to walk you right through it. And I had access to almost all the law enforcement reports. That's why I could tell you firsthand Great job, guys and gals. Now, there are many allegations from the family about this, but here is the investigation from the police reports and the timeline. And I'm going to walk you slowly through it. August 23rd, 2021. Jelani was told to attend a meeting with his clinical director at school. That is like the boss of all bosses. When they call you in, it's not normally good. He gets called in by them, and she asks a series of very pointed questions to him, putting him on the spot. So all of the people in the PhD program that were meeting with patients, and he was one, had to get a TB test to make sure you're not passing TB. Yeah, it's no big deal. I've had several of those. They put a little prick in your shoulder, and you come back in a few days. They look at it. As long as it's not big and bulgy, you passed, you're on your way. No big deal. Well, he had failed to submit his plan to take the test at the student center. She didn't understand why. It wasn't a big deal. She also told him that you have shown a lack of professionalism. Not good. And I want you to tell me when you're going to go to the student center and get this done. She said he was angry and frustrated about the expectations put on him. And she said it was likely caused by him getting caught not doing well in school. That would be sobering, friends. You get called in like that, you're on your way out if you don't start marching the line. So that was at 11 a.m. on August 23rd. At 1 o'clock that same day, from 1 to 2:15, he was supposed to be in a class. At 1:30, he walks into class 30 minutes late. And a friend of his was there. He sat down next to her, and she said he was very quiet, very frantic, opened up his computer and frantically started taking notes. She said the entire time he was super quiet, which was not like him. Personality change, remember that. Well, from 2:15 to 2:30, he's walking through the campus after that class. And one of his other friends said that he looked dazed. And they walked up to him and asked him if he was okay. And he said, I misplaced my car in another lot. This person says, well, come on, I'll give you a ride and we'll go find it. And they did. Why would he be dazed? Later that same night, 7:28 to about 9:15, sometime during that time frame, the director of clinical services calls him and says, hey, did you get the test done? Because you got an appointment tomorrow with a patient at 3 o'clock. He says, no, I haven't had it done yet. Well, they get upset. He agreed on the phone to go to the student union in the morning and have it done. And she said, if you're not compliant, you're not seeing any more patients. Well, if you're not seeing patients, you're not fulfilling the requirements of the PhD you're in for. So that would not be good. The next morning, now let me stop here for a second. First of all, this was all discovered by the police during their investigation on him. This was not easy to find. You had to really dig hard. So I acknowledge that the police dug deep into this topic to find out how he was before he disappeared. And they're laying the groundwork right now. So Tuesday, the next day, at 7:08 a.m., they have him leaving his parking lot in his car on camera by himself. At 7:19, they have him walking into a Starbucks on campus and getting a coffee. That's from 7:19 to 7:21. He ordered the coffee ahead of time, walked in, picked it up, walked out. At 7:21, he walks out of the Starbucks. So for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, he's walking around doing something. Nobody knows what. But at 7:39, he leaves the parking lot on campus, in the same parking lot where the health services office is, and he leaves in his car. Well, the health office didn't open till 8 a.m. He knew that. The clinical director told him. But he chose to leave. Why? And later that morning, he was supposed to have a meeting with the clinical director after he had his test done. He didn't go to that. And then he completely no-showed for that 3 p.m. patient visit. So when you've worked your whole life to get to this point to be in a PhD program, and it starts to totally crash around you, and you allow it to crash by failing to do these simple things, what is that telling you about the person? Think about that. The next day, August 25th. Okay, let's go back. So the last time they see him on August 24th is at 7:39 driving out of the parking lot. The rest of the day, nobody knows where he was. The following day, August 25th at noon, he misses another clinic visit. At 1 o'clock, he misses his class. And red flags start to go off. The clinical director was worried about his welfare, and she leaves him a phone message, which he didn't return, which was highly unusual. Again, as I've said, if your bosses of all boss call you, you better call them back. That triggered a series of other school officials looking into his welfare. At 5 p.m. that day, August 25th, the department chairman writes a special care report on Jelani, accelerating and reiterating that she's worried about him, and that starts action. And until you've been involved with this, you really don't understand it. Now, I have been, because my son was in USC when this happened to him. So colleges and universities have special mental health action teams. They are both police officers, students, and clinicians that respond to clinical health emergencies. Now, that response can be based on a professor, instructor, or even another student or resident's assistant calling in and saying, hey, there's something wrong with so-and-so, you need to go check on it. And they aren't normal police officer trained or they are special people. I met them. They are special people. They care. They've been involved in this for a long time. They understand psychosis. And I have been overly impressed with these people. I can speak for USC. The police officers there were A++. And really, to work that assignment, you've got to have a special heart. It's not a volunteer. It is a volunteer position. You're not assigned to it. You wouldn't want police officers assigned to it. You'd want the ones that want to do this job. And the director writes this report. Police get involved. Mental health professionals are getting involved. And that evening, the campus police start calling other jurisdictions. They looked up where Jelani lived, his brother, his mom, etc. And they make a call to Danville police, and they ask them to go do a welfare check at the house for Jelani. So they go there, and Jelani's brother is at the house. DeAndre. And DeAndre is a good soul. He cares about Jelani. Police say, hey, yeah, we're worried about your brother. You know, do you know where he's at? Have you seen him? DeAndre goes, hold on, calls him. Jelani always picked up. He didn't pick up. So DeAndre calls the mom. The mom calls Jelani. No answer. That never happens. And so DeAndre drives to Bloomington to get to the apartment. Just after that, the police are at Jelani's apartment talking to his manager, neighbors, etc. And remember, I've talked to you about welfare checks. In this instance, this is considered a welfare check, and the police officers have a right to enter that apartment. And they contact the manager lets them in, they search the apartment, Jelani's not there. And they search the parking lot, Jelani's car is not in the parking lot. And now what they do is they enter Jelani and his car into the state computer system. Actually, it's a nationwide computer system that if it's stopped to check on the welfare of the driver, make sure Jelani's okay. So they enter that late at night on August 24th. August 26th, the car is reportedly found in the woods in Peru, Illinois. And you think, well, that's weird, Dave. Yeah, I would say that's weird. I'm here. So this is Illinois State University in Bloomington. Straight down Highway 39 is Peru, Illinois. And in Peru, right across the middle of the city, runs the Illinois State River. Keep that in the back of your mind. Hey, what's that? He's a good girl. Yeah, he's a good girl. She's coming over here and wants some love. She goes, hey, stop talking to that stupid black thing and give me some love. Okay. So the car's found in the woods behind a YMCA in Peru. Deep in the woods. And weirdly, the license plates are taken off the car. So somebody thinks that police aren't going to figure out who this car belongs to because the license plates are off. That's stupidity. Cars are so easy to figure out if you're a policeman who they're owned by. It's ridiculous. License plates mean almost nothing. So the police look in the car, and there's some clothes in the back seat too. So they start searching around, and they find a business nearby. And the man says, yeah, you know, the other day, yesterday maybe 2 days ago, black man, dressed nice, comes walking out of the woods. And nobody ever walks out of those woods. And they walk around the front of our business, they kind of look around, and then they disappeared. I don't know where they went. Well, the car is a really nice convertible Chrysler 300 white. And the policeman in Peru who ran the VIN number on the car, and it comes back to Jelani, they call out their crime scene tech crew, and they start going through this car with a fine-tooth comb. I would say 65% of the time, police departments don't do this. They just think, oh, you know, it's a missing person, da-da-da. No. You should handle that car all the time like a crime scene because you don't know how it got there. So they go through it for blood, fingerprints, fiber. They vacuum the whole car. They're going for fiber. As an example, let's say you sit in a car, your pants, your shirt, your sweater, they all leave behind microscopic fibers. And you wouldn't know it, but those fibers, looked at by a professional, can identify where those fibers came from. And that can lead to a suspect in a murder case. Well, around the city of Peru, a citizen finds Jelani's Illinois State University lanyard turned into police. And then on a roadway between Bloomington and Peru, another guy was driving along and he had a big mattress on his car. The mattress starts to blow off. He pulls over to the side of the road and he's adjusting the mattress and he looks over there and there's a phone laying on the side of the road. Person's not very wealthy. Picks up the phone. Doesn't turn it into a police. Turns it into Walmart and sells it. Well, that phone comes back to Jelani. Red flags go off. Police go out, get the information, get the phone, eventually find the guy, thinking he might be a suspect in something. Turns out he's not a suspect. He's just a guy who wanted to make some money off using a phone and sold it to Walmart. But I tell you that story because most departments wouldn't go to that extent, but they did. And that is impressive. Well, police have the car. They don't have Jelani. They're working it like a crime scene. So now they start going backwards in time, trying to figure out what steps he took where there was maybe something that happened that could direct him to where he is. Well, they find out through an investigation, checking his credit cards and things, that Jelani is on camera entering a marijuana dispensary on the outskirts of town at about noon. He walks into the dispensary, purchases some product, goes back to his car, and is seen doing something on his phone. 2.5 hours later, after that, his wallet is found in the bushes in Peru. Now they go back and they investigate and they interview Jelani's friends. And they say, hey, how's he been? You know, anything going on? They say, yeah. He told us this weird story the other day. He said that he had a dream that his two best friends from home are trying to kill him. That's weird. Well, please write it down. It does go to show his mental state. Well, September 4th, 9 days after the car is found, some people are walking the riverbank of the Illinois River near a bridge near Peru, and they find a body floating in the water. Police go out, they recover a naked black man's body. Days later, the DNA shows back that it's Jelani. Now I want you to pay special attention to what I'm going to say. Several days later, the LaSalle County coroner lists the cause of death as drowning. The coroner, Richard Plotch, stated how he ended up in the river is unknown. The car that he left in Peru was 2 miles from the river. He stated that the body showed no evidence of any injury, strangulation, assault, altercation, gunshot, infection, tumor, or natural causes, or extreme drug intoxication. Watch that word, extreme. Oh, there probably was some level of intoxication, but he specifically used that word extreme. Now, his mom loved him immensely. A huge advocate for her kids. She went to the press and she said that she's trying to change the way cases like this are handled. So let's hold our taters right there. I would agree with her statement in general terms. Cases like this are not handled seriously by police on general terms. Very rarely are missing persons cases shown the same emphasis that a homicide case has. Even though a lot turn out to be homicide cases, they're just not handled that way at the beginning. And she makes an interesting statement. She says, do not always look at them as criminals or gang members. My son was none of these. I 100% agree with her statement. He wasn't a criminal and he wasn't a gang member. She goes on, she goes, he was an intelligent, ambitious young black man that had goals and dreams, and he was headed towards something in life. She says, further, Jelani had purpose, and I need them to know you can't disregard life the way you disregarded his. Whew. Hold on. Hold on. If you've been here a while, you know I call it the way it is. I routinely tell you when police make huge mistakes. I routinely tell you when they didn't even try. I routinely tell you that I'm embarrassed sometimes, but hold your taters. I saw the reports. I read you the highlights of those reports. I do not see a hole in their investigation. Their result was they have no idea how Jelani got in the water. They had no witnesses. There was no injury to the body. Gee, what does that sound like to you? Missing 411 case, doesn't it? Now I'm going to cover a few things with you that I think are important. Jelani was counseled just days before about failing to submit a plan to get his TB test. He was further counseled about a lack of professionalism. And then that same day, he's late for class. All right, when your bosses of all boss tell you this, and then you turn around, you're a half hour late for work after that, and class is your work, what does that really tell you about your state of mind? You either don't care or you're having some serious psychosis. Because right after that, a friend said they saw him dazed when he left class. Then he tells friends that other of his best friends are trying to kill him. Then he strips his clothes. Before that, he's seen at a marijuana dispensary. What's he doing there? Is he self-medicating? And that's a logical question, because he's going through something deep at this point. Was he having paranoia? He said he thought his friends were trying to kill him. Now, when you go on and you do an AI search, you can do it yourself, on high THC causing psychosis, it says it does. I've said this to you before, I will say it to you again. If you have a young person in your house that's in junior high, high school, or college, you do everything you can in your possible ways to keep them away from marijuana. Because back when marijuana was 1-2% THC, 3-4% THC, it didn't have the effect on your brain the way 50% THC or higher does today. And they have done clinical studies that shows that this high THC is almost like a triggering device on a young person's brain. Now, I'm not talking to you people out there that are 50-year-olds that are addicted to marijuana, that have spoken it your whole life. I don't even care about you guys. You do whatever you want. I'm talking about the young people. Why am I doing this? Because I know it's true, what they're saying. And the mind keeps developing until you're about 30 years old. And while your mind is developing, that's when it's susceptible to these high levels THC and psychosis triggering. Is that what happened here? Hey, I don't know. But I'm also not an idiot. I just laid you out the roadmap. This police investigation was one of the most comprehensive and transparent I have seen on one of these cases. I feel horrible for their family. Their mom went on television and just ranted and raved. There were a lot of racist claims, and the town he disappeared on and was racist. I can find no evidence of a crime. I read everything. I don't see police officers or detectives taking any shortcuts. Not in the least. Unfortunately, Jelani's not here. And I can tell you that marijuana did not add to the situation and did not add to his good health. And we as a society need to look at this. When I spoke to the police officers at USC about their mental health team, they were blatantly obvious. They said, Dave, ever since the advent of high levels of marijuana and the legality of marijuana, the number of mental health crises is over 20% or 200% higher in every year after. It goes 200% higher, 200%. And then this one person I was talking to said, I lived in the LA basin my whole life. And he goes, since marijuana has become legal, homelessness has just run rampant. And he goes, Dave, you get a chance, take a ride along or walk with a couple of the LAPD guys around downtown and take a walk through some of the homeless camps. Everyone's smoking weed. Thank you for being here. If you guys want to write me disparaging things about, don't attack marijuana, it's better than pharmaceuticals. I'm not saying it's better or it's worse. I'm telling you facts about what it will do to a young person's brain. And that scares the heck out of me. If I was a parent, I'd want to know. Be kind. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Paulides out.